I always wanted to be in startups, so kind of had the privilege of, kind of growing up in these companies from the ground floor, seeing these exceptional founders, build something from nothing, and it was extremely inspiring. And I just knew that I wanted to do it at some point. I did a couple of healthcare startups out of grad school just to kind of cut my teeth on the industry because I frankly knew that I just needed to learn the domain and had enough modesty and humility to know that I wanted to learn from others who kind of understood the space before trying it on my own. It just so happened that the company right before Kyruus, one of the co-founders there was Graham Gardner, who ultimately became my co-founder at Kyruus. And so
Yep.
he and I had the chance to work together. We ended up selling that company to CVS, and we kind of looked at each other and said, "Hey, that was fun. Like, let's do it again." And the idea behind Kyruus. So I've been obsessed with how do you kind of apply technology to supply demand mismatch problems? That's been like a theme across every company that I've worked at, every product I've worked at, or product I've built or worked on. And, we sort of married that to Graham's experience as a clinician when he said, gosh, one of my experiences as a cardiologist was that patients would wait 8 weeks to see me. He was a very fancy Harvard doctor working at the Beth Israel. Patients would queue up to kind of get an appointment with him. They would show up only to be told that he was the wrong kind of cardiologist, that they actually need to be re-referred to a different type of subspecialty
Oh,
because the person making the referral maybe was like Graham's friend from medical school, didn't really have detailed information about what exactly his area of subspecialty practice was, or just it was someone who went to the hospital website and kind of on a whim picked his name out of, amongst all other cardiologists. And so, we said, gosh, that is a supply demand mismatch problem, right? You've got patient demand that has a specific need, but doesn't have the appropriate information at the point of referral to, kind of steer to the most appropriate care option. And so, from that was born this concept of Kyruus, which was ultimately a patient provider matching platform that the closest analogy that I used to explain what the system did was it was kind of akin to the Sabre system in travel, which was the mainframe system that agents would use to book flight inventories across multiple carriers. And so it was kind of an engine that aggregated seat inventory from across multiple airlines. It had logic for pricing those seats under certain circumstances and for different classes. And then ultimately the booking engine that would sort of book that seat on behalf of the consumer. And that's essentially what we ended up building at Kyruus was a system that would aggregate appointment inventory across multiple provider groups, create the logic and the routing engine to match a patient to the right provider based on literally dozens of different criteria in real time,